G'day everyone, welcome back to Steelhorse Station. Hope you're all well. I'm just getting myself organized here. I think I have got everything in the right spot as we excuse me, head on to Pallengey, if I've got that pronunciation even closer right. Pallengey. That's my interpretation of what Google is telling me to say. So let's have a look. It is a gorgeous map. I can see there's a couple of people there. Thanks for popping by. We'll just wait for everything to fire up. Interestingly, I think OBS is working properly. My rustiness continues. I started some bits of software in the wrong sequence, but I think everything is now working. We'll see how we go. Righty ho. So here we are at the main starter farm, right in the town of Pallengey. And as you can see, so what I've decided to do, our key characters here are Henri and Angelique, and they hail from Lyon. We're up here in the north. They hail from Lyon, and they have purchased the starter farm down here. It's a bit run down, little bit of equipment. G'day Jason, good to see you. Welcome along. Thank you very much. It's good to be back. So they've purchased the starter farm, and as you can see, I'm in year 2. I've run through the first year and done a few things to sort of get things going. The scenario I have set up here, which we will run through, is they were established, right? So Henri's trained as a welder and worked as a bit of a sort of a mechanic fix-it man in the Lyon area, fixing farm machinery. He actually worked for Lely, you know, the folks that make the milking machines, the Dutch company. And so he has a bit of experience generally with farming and farm equipment. His wife, Angelique, is a trained chef, and they had a little cafe, but they'd always wanted their own place. And so this farm suits them really well, because around the back here, or front here, I guess you'd call it. So there's some productions built in, and a little farm shop and dairy here where they make some cheeses and sell some mustard. So the map has a few specialty products. If we just have a quick look. I don't know how many of you have seen the Farm Sim Guy did a really good review of this map, which is certainly worth looking at. I didn't put the link in, but his reviews are easy enough to find. But as you can see, all the regular crops, plus specifically triticale, alfalfa, spelt, and mustard. And I do have the premium pack, so I've put the vegetables in as well. So I don't know what we'll end up doing, but certainly when it comes to the first year, we have a look. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say while we're over here. So in order to get into the farm, they've had to sell up pretty much everything they've got, everything they had. They've taken a €1 million loan against the property and the equipment, and it's an interest only deal. So they will get hit with the interest with that, and they've got 5 years till the principal repayment is due. So that's kind of the scenario we're playing. I'm pretty sure I've set it up in hard economy. Where are we here? Let's try. Yeah, there we go. Hard difficulty, all the regular stuff. 2-day months. Crop destruction on. I haven't worried with stones, but we do have weeds. And apart from that, trailer limits are on, but pretty much everything as normal. As I go through, same drill as always. If there's anything particular you want to look at or check out more closely, we can go and do that. In terms of how we're set up, so if we have a look at the PDA, it's quite an attractive looking map. What drew me to it is, and you'll get a sense of this as we travel around, is it all sort of fits together, and it's got the map makers managed to sort of capture a sense of being in a location, which I really like. It kind of helps inspire me to come up with the story, and then makes it fun to play on the map because it feels lived in. That is a bit of a loan, yes. So €1 million is going to take some doing, but because it's not a true start from scratch in the sense that I started on New Farmer, so in sort of return for our loan, we've actually got a farm, even if it's not in brilliant shape. So if we have a look at the farmland we own, you can see, oh, don't worry about the one at the top there. I'll get to that in a second. But you can see we've kind of got the main farm here, and then we've got a smattering of little fields, and I'll cover what's in them in a minute. But if, for example, I've taken a contract which we might slot in, and if you have a look, the field prices aren't horrible. They're not cheap. So, you know, there's a, what is it, a half a hectare field. Sorry, what is that size? Hasn't given me an area. It's a little over a hectare, 1.5 hectares. So it's a modest size field at 75 grand. And if we, so kind of, if you think about, yes, we've got some fields that are spread around the place and they're pretty tiny, but they weren't worth a particular lot. But if we set our sights on expanding the farm, there's 155 for this one, 75 here, 100, 160. So there's some good expansion prospects, and the way the fields seem to be done, there's some opportunity to turn a couple of them into bigger fields. We've also got a couple of grass fields down here on the river. So by and large, I think it's a pretty interesting starting setup, but we'll have to work reasonably hard to get on top of the financial situation. The top here. G'day, Jack Sarge. Welcome in. Great to have you here. For those that don't know, Jack Sarge has actually a couple of YouTube channels. One which is quite impressive, which I looked at the other day. He's an expert miniature figure painter, and some of the things he's got on his Jack Sarge painting channel are truly amazing. So you clearly have all of the fine motor skills that I never got, Jack Sarge. Good job. So if anyone's got the chance, just look him up and click on the appropriate buttons if you like what you see. Now, Up the top of the map is field 123, which was only 20 gram. It's actually a flat field, and it looks to me, we'll go up there later on, it looked to me like the map maker intended that to be a placeables location. So what I've done, I'll explain later when we get up there, but I've in effect built a little industrial area. I haven't done too much landscaping at the present, but that's kind of my link into some of the other activities and where we might take the storyline. But for now, if we look at our fields a little more closely, so come and zoom in here. So we've got a grass field, which is where our cow pasture is. And then we've got 3 fields here, which I planted out with mustard, which will be ready for harvest shortly, along with one over here. We've already harvested the barley that was in this field, and I think in 9 I've got wheat. Yeah. And more no, what did I put in there? Is that spelt or triticale? Spelt. I put into 71. So that's the that's kind of the setup, but none of our fields at the minute are quite ready to harvest. That is our harvester sitting over there because we have a contract which I grabbed. Now, one of the changes that I made, because I think it fits the storyline, is we've put a mill on here so that we can turn our produce into flour. So it's just a simple basic mill, and it will create a range of different flours, and I haven't done the mod particularly well, but you kind of get the idea there. And so I've just, because spelt's supposed to be a better, well, I can never remember which one is which. One of them keeps more of the husk with the flour, so I improved the throughput rate slightly over a barley or a wheat. So all I've done, they're not ridiculous throughputs, but you can see I've changed the cycles on some of them, and the formulas slightly so that we can produce some flour. And then the flour is going up into our little farm shop where we are making bread. We'll ultimately get to cake. We'll do some mustard when we've got some mustard seeds, and we are making cheese currently. So I thought that was a nice little addition to the farm. If you look, one of the things I really like is how he's done the fields. It all sort of, and the decoration, it all sort of adds to the place. The only thing I've added here was the fuel tank. In fact, there might have been a shed of some. Oh, there was a bunker along here, which I disposed of. This is he's done quite a lot of work on the animal pens, so they do integrate. And then he's got these cool farm tracks around the place, but with the occasional puddle. So just looks really nice. The only problem I'm having with the main farm really is that the manure pit is here. But do you reckon I can get it connected? It is... I've tried a bunch of things. I've tried installing a new one. There is straw in there at the minute, you can see from the side. So if anyone's got any clues on how I might fix that, I would be all ears. I have tried everything I could think of. But it's not the end of the world. So around here, our chickens, we've got 30 chickens, so they're producing a little bit. What else have we got here? So I've replanted the grass in here, which is interesting, so it grows up into a nice grass texture. I just thought that looked better for the cows, and also means we can mow that and get a good yield. This little spot here, so I mentioned before, so part of the storyline is that Henri worked for Lily. Right, so that's the milking machine. I reckon he's going to be capable of building his own Lily sphere, which was, for any of you that paid any attention to the not so good DLC that was announced recently, one of the more interesting pieces of equipment was the Lily sphere. So we'll experiment with that. Now, what's the easiest way to get to this field that I want to get to? Don't go that way, I don't think. So he's going to build his own, basically. If you don't know what a Lily sphere is, I did a little bit of reading on it because I was quite intrigued. I knew nothing about it whatsoever. So it's a real thing, not just a mod that Dutch modding dreamt up. Lily being a Dutch company, the Lily sphere, whoops, couldn't see that. Get out of the way. Forks are a bit big for that tractor. Let's pop you over here for now. Yeah, so the basic concept, we might as well talk about it now while I'm standing here with the Lily sphere, is so these slits in the floor run into channels, and so the urine flows out and they collect that separately from the manure. And to the extent that there is any dissolved solids, they separate them, because apparently the manure and the urine breaks down the manure and reduces its fertilizing value. So you still collect manure. They have a little robot, which I don't think we'll ever see in game, which runs around the shed and collects up the manure off the floor. But then the robot, or the machine, that little silo machine that will build out the back there, collects gases that are exuded from the animals along with, and mixes that with some of the urine and some acid, and produces a concentrated liquid fertilizer, which is a pretty cool tech. And so I thought we needed one of those, and who better than an ex-Lily engineer to whip one up in his own farm. So that's the plan, but we won't have that tonight. That'll be somewhere down the track when yours truly manages to figure out how to make the mod work. Given that I don't have the and I've only just got my first mod working, but more of that later. Now, this is the field we want to harvest. It's contract 32. I figured it was a good one to grab because it's right here, and allows us to talk a bit and look around while we actually do something useful. I can see there's a couple of you there, Jason and Jack Sarge. Hope you've been well. know it's unusual for me to be doing a Thursday night, but it works a little bit better with my circumstances for the moment. And hopefully our UK or European audience can catch up. Some of them might be able to pop in from time to time, and others will, like the US, have to deal with it on replay. Well, so I had a big win this week, admittedly, and speak of the devil, he arrives just in time to get the credit for his assistance. So after a good 10 days of frustration, yesterday with Mark's help, I actually managed to get my first extremely simple mod working, which I will demonstrate in just a second. It'd be more useful and easier to demonstrate if I was actually heading towards a trigger, so we have to do a lap of the field first. But, yes, I sort of concluded that the game, for me a bit, and the part that I was getting really interested in before my holiday last year was the opportunity to tailor the experience more to the way I wanted it. And whilst the content of the last 6 months didn't thrill me particularly, once I got through a few other issues that were going on in my world, I remain interested and I enjoy playing the game. So I thought, well, there's still plenty of scope to be able to put all those things together, and whilst I can't see my way clear to producing videos at the same rate that I was, there's still plenty of fun things that we could do, and a couple of streams a week I think are within my capacity at the minute. So we'll see how that goes. So right here we're at the back of the supermarket, and because I know Mark's there at the minute, although he's probably at work, we'll just pause this right here and jump over the fence or run around. So this is the township that's kind of in the center of the map, and you can see right here, it's sort of situated around a church. What a surprise for a European village. That there's a cake shop and a supermarket, and then this is what we're looking at here in front of me is not a standard part of the map. It's actually the sell point from Mark's mod that he released sometime in the last few months, certainly while I was on sabbatical. So it's the sell point, and it allows me to first of all encourage you to download it if you haven't already, but I can demonstrate my mod, and my mod is really simply, it's the ability to do this. Oops, it doesn't work over there because on the sell point the markers aren't hidden. Let's try this one. Right, so trigger markers on, trigger markers off, trigger markers on, trigger markers off. So now I have a little mod which does nothing more significant than we can find Mark's mod on the mod hub. So it is going to be able to be shown to you in a second. What am I trying to do? Oh, goodness me. Brain and fingers aren't working at the same sequence. So it's a dessert factory, and it looks like so. We zoom in a little bit there. So it does some groovy desserts. You can see the outputs, custom desserts, some mostly involving chocolate and sweet things. And so this is part of the industrial park that I've installed at the top of the map, which we'll go up and have a look at a bit later on. And just by reference, Mark, you can see what I met in my chat message yesterday that sort of looks overshadowed by what the map maker's done in the village, but nonetheless, what I decided to do was put your sell point here in the car park because I thought it fitted beautifully with that orientation, and it would be the sort of thing that would really annoy the owners of the cake shop. And we will endeavour to get to the point where we can purchase the factory and we have enough of the ingredients to be able to make cake. Oh, there you go. Mark's actually put his link. So he's going to take you straight in. So to keep it, it looked to me, if you wanted to set your farm up to feed it at full capacity, you would need to be producing quite a lot of a wide range of materials: sugar, chocolate, eggs, strawberries, flour. So it's kind of a good goal to set yourself. Now, did I turn off? Yes, I did. So yeah, so that's my mod. Just allows me to do that. When I want to check where the trigger markers are, I have a button on my keyboard and now I can press it. It also works when I'm in cab in the tractor. So, or more importantly, a truck. You're driving up to a sell point. You can, particularly if it's somewhere on the map you haven't been before, you can turn the triggers on and see where you're supposed to be going without the need to go into the settings menu and enable it and turn off. The other thing is that yeah, that was the whole idea, Jack Sarge. It's been on my, surely it's possible. I can't believe all these clever people that write mods hadn't done it, and it just took me a year to figure out. In fact, the thing that gave me the biggest impetus to get started was the recent Global Explorer mod, which you may or may not have seen, but allows you to display a whole bunch of the variables, hidden variables in the game, and that enabled me to identify actually what the name of the variable was that I was seeking to modify, and from there, in the scheme of things, it was relatively straightforward. And if I'd actually understood how Lua worked a little better, I could have done it much faster. Mark sorted me out. I offered, because Mark is actually the critical component in making it work, I offered him the chance to post it to the mod hub, and so my intention is to submit it there before I distribute it at all. I just want to get a couple of other things. So specifically, I just want to read a little bit more about multiplayer just to make sure it's got some chance of working, and I also want to get a couple of the basic translations done, which my sister will help me with. Thank you, Mark. No worries, Argsy. And it's great to have you in. So, and Argsy would like my mod. So there you go, Argsy. The ability to turn trigger markers on and off by pressing a button. Something you've always wanted but just never knew how. Hope the kids survived the camp and that the parents didn't have too much fun. What am I doing? I'm going to look for a vehicle to put. What have I done with? There it is. Yes, so when I figure out just to get some basic translations, and it shouldn't take long. My sister is a bit of a whiz at languages. I will be then starting the process with Giants to get it released. Now where are we going down here? So as you can see, you'd be already getting a sense that this map is pretty attractive to look at and nicely situated. For those that have only just joined us, the windmill there is an addition I've made. No worries, Argsy. Thanks for dropping by. I appreciate it. I'm hoping to make your next stream. I was ready last night, but I figured you were busy. Actually, we can come back and do this. What we might do... What we might do is turn the tractor off. Let's go and have a look at a bit more of the map. So I was doing a contract last time I was on, and I left a piece of equipment. Well, I gave the tractor back and I left a piece of our equipment at the top of the map on the field we were using. So we'll trundle up and collect that because I figure it's useful. The other thing that I've got included in this save, because I think it fits with the story, is something. It is the realistic maintenance mod. If you haven't seen that, it's not on the mod hub, and I suspect it's not likely to be anytime soon, knowing how Giants are with maintenance and everything else. It's a bit different, and I kind of like the concept, and I'm just sort of trying it out on here, but basically the concept is you'll see a pallet in there. You've got to buy some supplies and stick them near your maintenance point, and in effect that converts the maintenance point to work with the scripts that are in the mod, and then a key sequence takes you in, and annually you need to inspect your vehicles, but as your vehicles are used they accumulate faults, some of which you know about and some of which you only find with an inspection. And then when it comes time to repair the faults, it actually takes an elapsed period of game time, depending on the nature of the faults, to fix them all. Now, my experience with it so far is limited, but it's been the matter of a few hours game time. So, stuff ready later that day or the next day. Mark was telling me that in one of the tests that, and I think there might be an FSG video on it, I haven't seen it, but one of the tests he was doing, it took one of his tractors out of action for a couple of days, so we'll see. But the concept of it I quite like. So we're heading out of our main farm, which you'll recall, or you may recall, is in the center of the map here. All right, so remember this is the starter farm, and we've gone out to the right. We're heading down to the shop and one of the sell points, the cooperative, and then we're going to head up to the north of the map. So, as you can see, I might have done that. Yeah. That patch that you may have just noticed off to the left in the field, I might have done that. I've been messing with textures and trying to understand how they work. And don't worry, he'll stop for us. So this is the vehicle store. We've got some seed here, that's ours. But custom class dealership, you can go in the doors if you want. This equipment, I've got a sneaking, these are actually real pieces. They're not ours, but I haven't actually tried. You can certainly tow them. I don't know if you can use them. Let's try and see if the telehandlers. Yeah, I can actually enter them, so that's kind of cool. The workshop trigger's just here. So 2 entrances, and the equipment spawns right behind me here. So we'll head now, so you can see the view back towards town. The cooperative is next door, big sell point there. Really liked the elevation changes. It just feels natural. I've, you know, maybe it's as recent as my holiday, but we drove through so many valleys in Europe that looked just like this. All right, nice job with the river. We actually own this field. This grass field just here is ours. And I'm just having a look because I baled it the other day, and I've got a sneaking suspicion I had a runaway bale that ended up in the river. But as you can see, you know, really nice job on the decor, you know, boat just sort of nestled in there. But equally, the decor is not at the expense of being able to use the terrain, you know. So this is just a good practical field. Although, be careful. Should be able to see the bale in stock check. And it. There in the storage. So there is one hiding somewhere. But what I did learn is that workers being workers still aren't very good. If they get a bit close to the edge, they will end up in the water here. Which is the first time I've had to... Yeah, no, that's all right. We'll find it later, Mark. Thank you. I just thought while I was there... Oh, there it is. I can see it. There's actually 2 of them. They're right in front. That's interesting. It only showed me one on the... because they're both hay bales, I reckon. Ah, one's a grass bale. Well, that was interesting because the grass bale didn't show up. That means this one's probably a grass bale as well, is it? It is. Wait, let me pick it up. I can't pick it up while I'm standing in the water. There we go. We'll come and get these another time. Oh, there's another one hiding there. I did a contract on that field that's just up in there, and I obviously missed a couple. So this field up here. There's actually this is another of the farms while we're up here. Sorry, I'm doing tours and we're working at the same time. So this is one of the alternate farms. There you go, good bit of storage, lots of custom buildings. Now, there's a shed down there that I'm pretty sure belongs to this farm. But kind of cool. But now I'm intrigued because, as Mark said, why didn't they show... Oh, they're all loose. No, they're not. That means I must have a whole heap of bales hiding in the river. I just assumed they were in the... Yeah, they're all loose. So there's got to be 6 of them, right? Never mind. We'll come and find them later. 7. Yes, sorry. Who knew? Retired brain. Fabulous rail viaduct, as you can see. We'll go round this way. So the farm tracks look really cool, like they actually look like tracks, but the only unfortunate part is the way he's done them means if you wanted to put your own farm track up between those 2 fields, there's no easy way to replicate this, right? So these textures aren't directly available like that. Now that's a problem I'm looking to solve, but it falls into the category of things that are the only bugbear I have, I think, with the map is that because he's got so many custom buildings and creations here, he's worked really hard to protect those, and that means when you open the map in Giants Editor, it doesn't look the way you expect, and everything's all confused, right? So that's why I can't fix the manure in the cow pen, because if I open the model, yeah, so some of the tracks are objects, and I haven't tried that yet. That's what we'll discover in due course. That's part of the fun of playing the map. But yes, here definitely some of the tracks are objects. Now, this is the little industrial area that I've laid out, so you can see our Polish factories make an appearance, and then hiding over the back here is Mr. Haythornwaite's creation is the dessert factory. So pick up here. I think we'll find it's 50 grand. Now that said, Jack Sarge, if we have a look, oops, let's try hitting the right button. Not all of the fields have those. So I brought you along. Where are we? Yeah, I brought you along here. I haven't done a specific search, but not all of the fields have that textured object between them. So I'm expecting to find that we could join 71 and 72 together without any trouble, but we couldn't join 69 to 68. And if that's the case, that's fine, because if we come up to the main area, what I'm looking to do at the main farm is ultimately I want to own all of these. I would like to be able to join. I want to build, because the yard's pretty tight in this funny little area here. I'd like to create a field that combines 31 and 33 and the backside of 99, and then put another shed in here. So they're sort of the long range. Grant, Mr. Stay Drunk, how are you? And thank you for your kind words, sir. We're glad to have you in. We're just having a look at Penya. I still struggle with that pronunciation, but nonetheless. So it'll be a bit of a voyage of discovery on the textures front. What I did do, wrong button. Let's try there. So, and I'm hoping to get a video. I'm hoping to do a couple of videos on textures because I see a little opportunity in the video market for a couple of how-tos that are less focused on map making and more about just specifically the differences between how textures work and how map makers deal with them. But if you have a look in landscaping here, how often have you opened a map and there's, 6 textures there? Well, here there was 10, but if I go into the editor, he actually had 12 properly defined with scope for a bunch more. So it's pretty easy to add all the ones that are properly defined without having to do anything in Giants Editor. Just fix the XML connections up. And then I'm messing with what happens if you create some more detailed ones. Can you make a texture that's close to his track that we could use to paint something similar? And how would that work? So that's kind of the path I'm on. And if I solve that, that'll be kind of like in the vein of mods. And I think if I can do something like that, it'd be worthy of a mod. But what you can see up here is our little industrial park, and the plan is to sort of buy into this as we manage to build our farm to the point where we've got product. So I put the bigger dairy in, so that we've got chocolate production, which we'll need in order to make the chocolate desserts that are in Mark's factory there. Some delicious looking things. Hey Jason, welcome along, sir. No problem. I understand that my timings won't necessarily work for everyone. That's the beauty of videos, but it is nice to have you here. It's kind of part of the reason why I'm just streaming in weekday evenings a little bit for the moment. For those that didn't catch it before, because I feel the need to show, my first mod is the ability to do this, turn buttons on and turn buttons off whilst driving around. Now there's the piece of equipment we want to pick up. So yes, I have joined the community of mod makers thanks to the able assistance solving my coding errors of Mark. And it is a very simple mod, but it works exactly as I wanted. So, because how often have you got up to a new cell point on a map like this? Just imagine I've got a trailer and go, well, where the hell do I drop the milk, right? So you drive in and you turn them on, you go, beauty, that's what I need to know, and you turn them off and you deal with it. Let's fold you up. So we're at the top of the map. Right, we're all the way up here. Animal dealer's just next door. Nothing particularly fancy. Some fields over here. There is some forestry, but I'm not planning on this series that we would do any if forestry. I'm not even sure if you can buy. Yeah, some of the forestry plots. The periphery is quite expensive, so we won't be buying the periphery. For those that missed my intro at the beginning, so our scenario here is with Henri and Angelique, and they've moved up from Lyon, where they she was the chef, had a little cafe, and he's a trained welder and farm equipment mechanic, fix it sort of man. And anyway, they've pooled their savings and convinced the bank to loan them €1 million and bought into the starter farm here. So they've got an interest only note for 5 years and €1 million, and they need to make a go of it. So being the starter farm, we do own a few fields. That's the industrial park. So we own the land that the industrial park's built on, and then we've got this smattering of small fields. And part of what attracted me to sort of working a series on this map is that the fields struck me as being reasonably priced to support a hard economy run. So won't be painfully difficult, but it won't be impossible to have a good story and a bit of fun with it as we go, with a few contracts to keep us out of trouble every now and again. So if you've got any questions as we drive around, or there's something you want to see, just sing out, because this is sort of part map tour and part the beginning of Henri's series. Little water pumping stations dotted around the place. So there we go. So that's what you see. I'd reckon you'd be able to join those two fields together, for instance. This field just here on the right with the yellow flowers is ours. So this is the mustard. Sorry, it's not ours. We've got the one next door, have we? Oh, we're back the other way. Back one. This one, wrong yellow flowers. This is our spelt. texture, which I thought was pretty groovy. I've got no idea what spelt looks like in real life, but there we go. And mustard, which we are growing back at the main farm. Oh, the other setup thing that I've gone for here is we can borrow equipment with contracts once we've done 2 contracts for the landowner. I just thought that was a good constraint, and we can't take more than 6 contracts in a given month, and we're playing 2-day months. I think they're all of the key things. So as we come back down round into town, this is the custom mill that's on the map. Really nicely done. It's a sell point. You can buy it as a mill, but it was a long way out of our league to purchase. I think it's quite expensive. Yeah, 800,000 to buy the mill. So it was kind of like, geez, it's hard to make a storyline where you can make that sort of money work full on. So that's why we went with the windmill that I've put on the ground at our place. Just for reference, one of the quirks with the map, I don't completely understand, so I think it might just be slightly unfinished or just something forgotten about in building. So the detail's all lovely down here. This side opens. These 3 don't. But if we have a look at our where are we here? Mr. Haythornwaite's tool, we'll find that there are a couple of things like 3,000 litres of pig food and 3,000 litres of A-frame, and we go, oh, where are they? Let's have a look. And we find out that they're pallets, and if we go to our map, we'll find they're actually on the other side of these doors, but you can't get in there. So I don't quite understand. When I originally started there, so when you actually start on New Farmer, you also have some seed in there and a couple of other things. And so I had to sort of fudge my way through and basically exit a vehicle to get through the wall to be able to shift them out. But just a little oddity that might catch you out. Kept me going for a while because I wanted to get the bagged TMR. There were 3 bags of TMR in there, which was kind of useful for where I started out. So we'll drive back through town. That'll do the trick. Come on, keep going. A beautiful job with the town. Roads are a good width. Maneuvering's pretty good. I've got some basic auto drive set up, and vehicles trundle around pretty well. So this is the entrance to our place here. We can't get in with big equipment through that door. We could get through there, but our larger entrance is this way. Certainly not a farm for huge stuff, but I think the map lends itself, and if we bolt a few fields together a bit further out, we can sort of create an equipment store that's a bit further away, so I'm not seeing it as an issue. nice feature that I liked. So this is a huge pallet storage, bale storage area, but there's no barriers. So I can park equipment and trailers in here when it's not full. It's fabulous. It seems to work fine. So that's good. The spawn point drops out over here. So you just got to be a bit careful of what you leave, but works a treat. Now, let's go back to our harvesting. That sort of gives you a flavour of the map. Let's get this contract knocked out. Rightio. Probably don't really need the straw here, do we? Given it's not our field. Other Jason, the fact that you're on, so not Jason Rowe, circles other Jason, does that mean you're back in Europe again? If you're in fact still with us. What have you been up to, Grant? Anything interesting happening in your world? For those that aren't aware but wondering why I was off for so long, it certainly wasn't the plan when I went on holidays. I'm not going to go into heaps of excruciating detail, but basically three sort of different things inspired. Firstly, I was looking for some farm sim sort of content inspiration and didn't find as much as I was hoping in Eastern Europe. That wasn't anyone's fault. It's just that it didn't come to me. I didn't come back with a clever idea. But then when I got back, or shortly after, the premium edition didn't do much to inspire me, and that coincided with some minor but irritating nonetheless health issues that sort of surfaced just before I went away and got progressively worse into the end of the year, that it took various specialists a little while to figure out what the hell was going on, to the extent that they had. So they're sort of under control with medication now for the most part. And then as I came into this year, unexpectedly, oops, we can go a little bit further. A very close friend of mine went into hospital in January, quite unexpectedly, and never came out. And that was very difficult. So it just generally has been a challenging period for me, and I didn't feel like making content, quite frankly. Why did I put the auger back in? So that, just by way of explanation, that's what's been going on. And yeah, thanks, Mark. It's just sort of, well, their kids grew up with our kids, basically. You know, I've known them for 40 years. Yeah, so we're getting there. And in a bizarre sort of way, so, you know, I started out with a sort of lack of inspiration in the premium edition, but actually watching a couple of the vids for the recent DLC, as underwhelming as that was, and has the fact that I had no intention whatsoever of buying it, it was a couple of items in it that were just a little spark of something different that I thought, oh yeah, okay, that might be interesting. And so for me, I was talking a little bit earlier for anyone that was here about the Lely Sphere. So I was quite intrigued about that, and given that it's a real thing and it's quite an unusual piece of technology, certainly not widespread by any stretch, I was actually a little bit annoyed that the DLC had done such a poor job that it wasn't going to see sort of broader use in the game, because people were so annoyed about the DLC, and particularly as it didn't strike me as being implemented particularly well. So we'll talk about that in some detail another time, but all that, and then the idea of the market stalls that were sell points that had varying requirements for product to be delivered to them. And I thought, well, they're kind of neat ideas. What am I doing? Getting dyslexic fingers. And I thought, you know, that's really good stuff. I'm sure that with a little bit of education and sort of a little bit of community spirit, the modding community in general could take a couple of those concepts and, you know, in effect, go Giants and Dutch modding how they should have been done in the first place. I mean, they've already done that. The warehouse kind of already existed, and as much as anything, I was just a bit disappointed for the console community, because, you know, the whole point of a DLC is to deliver capabilities to consoles that they don't otherwise get, really. So yeah, it was a bit like that. Grant, she was a pretty full-on, always active going. She was very fit, a few years older than me, but not old by any stretch. You know, president of the rowing club and a whole bunch of different things, and her she just, well, in fact, the night before her 30-year-old daughter had her 30th at their house, and she wasn't feeling her usual self, so she sort of put herself to bed, and when everybody left after the party, she was up early in the morning. She'd never been a big sleeper, and she wasn't feeling well, so she took herself to the ER. And the first her husband knew of anything going on was when he got a phone call to say, oh, you'll need to come and pick up the car. I'm at the ER, they won't let me come home. And a cancer diagnosis followed, and 6 weeks later she was gone. So yes, quite challenging for all and sundry, and quite unexpected. I'm just practicing with the auger. Yeah, so anyway, so the plan is to do a little bit more modding and teach myself a few more things, and maybe make some vids on gaps that I perceive in some of the modding stuff. I sort of figure, you know, we can make up for the absence of documentation from Giants by collaborating to improve the state and textures, and a little bit of Lua scripting are probably the first places that I'll concentrate, mainly because it's little things, you know. So I get onto a map like this, and this one wasn't too, it had some different quirks, but it was a kind of a trigger. You get onto a map and you find you get started and you're trying to update your yard and expand and do a few things, and the first thing you discover is that half of the textures that are in use around the map you can't actually access because they're not defined. And it's kind of like, really? Now maybe some of that is because they try to keep the size down when they take them to console. I don't know enough about the conversion process for consoles, but I really find it odd that, you know, for the want of 3 or 4 lines of XML, you could have all of the textures. You know, and Giants are as bad at this as some of the mod makers. I kind of get it for one sense, because if a mod maker's building a particularly, you know, pretty map like this, and they're going to spend hundreds if not thousands of hours to it, they, I suspect, rarely play the map, and they certainly don't play it the way the average player does. So, you know, their view of, oh well, when all the textures I need are defined in Giants editor, so if I need a texture to draw a particular thing on a map, it's already there. And it's like, well, yeah, it is, but if you don't put the entries in the XML, it's not available to the player. And the only times they enter the map to play, oh, did this building appear, did, you know, this trigger work, and that's the extent of it. And I get that, you know, if you're thousands of hours in, or certainly hundreds of hours if not thousands, yeah, you're not going to spend another 200 hours playing your map necessarily. I kind of get it, but I figure, well, okay, if some of these oversights, let's give them, be generous and give them the benefit of the doubt, are there, then let's see if we can fill the gap a bit. So that's my plan. Where are we? Yeah, it was a bit Jason, but you gotta keep going forward. Well, there you go. So it's not a console limitation. Now, unfortunately, none of the fixes I can do will apply to console Jason. But if we come up with any that might help, we'll be sure to let you know. And my new mod, unfortunately, won't work on console either because it takes a Lua script to make it work. I think I was saying before, so the lengths that the map maker's gone to protect his models on here are as extreme as I've encountered in my short time playing FS. You know, so if you load this map into Giant's editor, none of the buildings on the main farm are there. Okay, well, that's not that unusual. If you then open the model for the cow barn, there's nothing in it visible. And the scene graph is summarized to the point of ridiculousness. You know, if you try to fix the manure pit, well, there's no displayable part of the manure pit, and in fact the reference point for the manure pit is the same as the one for the cow barn, which is somewhere in the middle of the workshop. So trying to fix anything that is not lined up right is just so complicated. Now, the map maker knows the order in which he's done all of those things and how it's all put together, and so that's all fine. But you know, when I came to just a little bit of here and there, so I really like this textured stone, right? I thought wow, this is great, right? And I bought the mill, and I thought, oh well, so I'll just put the mill at the end of the bunkers there, and because the stone actually only comes to, I think it comes to here. Yeah, there you go. You can kind of see. I thought, oh, I'll just paint out, and I expected to go into the land because of the work he'd done on the rest of the map. I expected to go into the landscape tool and just be able to paint out this concrete. Nah, that was a mistake. So it turns out this is what Jack Sarge was saying before. So this is an object, but of course it'd be too easy if each block was an object like roads are. What he's inserted it in the map is the whole of the slab is one object. And if you go into the scene graph, it's not at all easy to divide it into pieces. Now, luckily, yeah, I can understand that, Grant. I'm just scratching the surface. I don't know how heavily I'll get into it. I don't think I've got the creative drawing juices to do too much. I mean, it took all my effort to make the icon for my little mod. Where's that? Which screen do I go to show the installed mod on a map? Is that? No, it's not there. It is on here, isn't it? There it is. Oh, mine doesn't show up. Okay. I would have to get out. Right. Thank you, Mark. I think I knew that. But yes, so suffice to say, just making the icon for my my mod was a ridiculous strain on my creative abilities. So, and that was even after Mark pointed me at an icon library that, you know, provided the bulk of the heavy lifting. All I had to do was cut it and size it right. Yeah, so anyway, what I did was cut a piece of the, with that slab up there, was cut a piece of it off, and because it's a large area that's pretty much flat, slide it along and overlay it, and I don't think that it looks too bad, and at least then I was able to position the windmill on top of it to sort of make it fit in. So there are ways around these things, but if I can get to the bottom of my understanding of textures, I still don't think it should be all that difficult to create like a texture, painted texture that'll look something like that concrete. You won't get the blocks, but give us the idea. And I would certainly like to be able to do a painted texture, which is the wheel ruts in the road, so you can see the, just in the distance over there, the white line going up the map, sort of the next track across, but one, that's all one single road section that he's probably done as well, he's probably used a spline to put it in and then removed the spline and just used his fancy texture to leave the track there. So, suffice to say, lots of interesting stuff to learn. Let's watch the amount of crop we've got in the tank there, Chief. We're probably going to fill this in a sec. Where are we going to deliver this contract? I wonder. Well, it's somewhere close. We are going to Souffle, which is not as close as we would like. So that's up near. Well, it's actually right down the street from the industrial park I showed you before, so we could go back through town or just up the hill. Go up the hill. There we go. I do like the fact that the way he's done the cow bones, the cows actually wander out of the shed into the pasture at the back. That's pretty cool. Oh, it looks like we've got some bread and cheese there to sell at some point too. Yeah, the reason why I didn't think necessarily, Mark, that the road or the track sections would be, I made those green messes in his fields. I was experimenting with textures the other day. I've obviously screwed up my version control on the map. Yeah, the reason why I didn't think they were a texture or an object made in Blender is because whilst that set of concrete blocks almost certainly is, it's only a plane really with a little bit of thickness, but these tracks actually follow the contours of the land, and so to do, well, that one there's, well, it curves over the hill there, but that'd be unduly difficult to do in Blender, whereas if you put it down with if you made the components in Blender and then knit it together with a spline and then turned it back into a single object that already fitted the landscape, now I think that's how he's done it. Things like the bridges and everything are just beautiful, and you know, little touches like those angled out sections on the approach on each side so that trucks and carts don't get caught on the bridge posts. It's just like, okay, kudos to you, really nicely done. Yeah, there you go. I had the concepts. But anyway, I think we'll have some fun on this map. We've got a little bit of cash there. We've got our own mustard crop, which should be ready for harvesting next time, so we'll be able to bring that in, get some income, hopefully to buy at least one more field, and once we start to grow, then we should be away. One of the interesting things that the realistic maintenance mod does is taxes engine power as your maintenance level increases and or faults build up, which is kind of interesting on a map with any sort of hills on it. So you really start to notice it. I just found a couple of situations. It's not super expensive to run, but it does have an impact. I know Mark is working on it on an alternative addition to the maintenance. Start overloading spelt, there we go. To the maintenance mod community. I'm not sure. The reason I haven't added it, he has shared it with me and we might have a look at it at some point. The reason I haven't added it on here is he's already advised me it's not compatible with realistic maintenance because they work in different ways, very different ways, and realistic maintenance messes with some of the underlying game mechanics. Like it takes over the workshop. So we'll look for an opportunity to experiment with that in due course. I also wasn't sure what would happen if I attempted to back out realistic maintenance and then put it on, because I don't know what state removing it leaves behind. And I was having enough challenges from the mess I'd made on Newlands when I was upgrading components. I didn't have any more cycles left. But there's an example. You look up there and you go, yep, that looks like a rural scene out of pretty much anywhere. Just really nicely done. There goes the train. Got a bit of length to it. Can put stuff on the train. There's a loading point up there. We won't bother to go up and look at that today. And if you're into the logging side of things, the sawmill on the other side of the map has custom feature to it. I'm pretty sure FSG demos in his map tour, which if you're interested is certainly worth a look. I'll never be able to do justice to the cinematics in quite the way he gets it done. Right. Oops. Have to go back and see if I can undo what I've done to those fields. Looks like I've painted the wrong grass texture into the middle. I was probably experimenting with how the texture tool works. Right you are. One more load will get that done. I think I emptied it. Just zip up and back. If you haven't noticed it, Farm Sim Briscoe, I think it's on his itch page, has done a kind of 3 or 4 minute teaser of his emerging version, new version of the Oaks, which looks beautiful. What really struck me and was kind of I think the key reason behind his video is he's clearly been learning a lot about how to do the borders, and so the map boundaries just look fabulous. So if you've got a couple of minutes, look it up, have a look. It's interesting. I've got no idea when or how far away it is. Obviously, if he's doing boundaries, he's you know, getting into the finishing touches stages, but that could still be a bunch of hours away. I am thinking that at some point after that emerges, we might do we might pick up with the Putneys, but you know, a decade on in the new version of the Oaks, and see how their story continues when the 5 kids of, you know, what's what's happened to them since they saved Dad's bacon. But for now, I think we'll have plenty to do to keep Henri and Angelique going here. If you've got any particular requests or ideas for stuff that we can do now that you've seen a bit of the map, whether you're watching it live or whether you're catching it on replay, just drop me a comment. Let me know what you think. I will give some thought to how we might incorporate things. We can be quite flexible. I mean, the broad direction will start to sort of become clearer as we now replant. I mean, in the first instance, it's about building the size of the farm by getting some more land. Hey, Farm Sim, speak of the devil, we were just I just mentioned your trailer. Your ears must have been burning, sir. And suggested that people have a look. That you were doing some impressive things with the map border. And I told them we didn't know how far from release you were, so no pressure. Take as long as you need to make it the way you want it. We've got more than a few sessions to do on here and get Henri and Angelique under control. I really should watch that gauge at the bottom a little more closely. Oh yeah, I thought it suited the map fantastic. I'm really looking forward to playing it now. Because I mean, your videos fabulous, but you never know until you get into it and you're driving a tractor around whether it's going to come up the same in gameplay as the way you've seen it. But it will look fabulous. Not that there was anything wrong with the old version, but you've certainly taken a step up in quality there. And just while that's... Where are we up to? Oh, yeah, let's just get the last of this off. 95. How much do we... Details on... So what was the full tank? Full tank was about 20,000, so we need another 5,000 litres. Oh, how about that? Just like it says at the top. All the maths fit together. What have we got here? I don't remember how much I put in the... Yeah, so we've got enough in the truck, so we're not going to make a lot. I don't think I'll bother separating off 1,000 litres, which is about all we're going to... Be lucky to have 2,000 surplus, I think. I think the horizon makes a really big difference. I mean, even in here you can see that that's not a particularly fancy horizon, but the fact that it's sort of, it fits, it's what your eye expects to see, and that just adds to the feel in a difficult to quantify way, I think. I think it's the reason why some maps have it and some maps don't. Some of them look, frankly, a bit cartoonish, which, you know, for certain sorts of gameplay, that might be all some people want. Me, I like it to look like a real life location, as it just helps me feel like I'm immersed in it. Right, you are. Put you out there. This is our... Well, actually, we got 1509 in here, and it's our harvester. Oops. Do I need to put any more in the truck? Or I probably don't, you know. I can probably take the punt and deliver this, and then what will be in the harvester will be ours. That separation might work. Now, I mentioned at the start of the stream, just while we're driving past over here, that Henri used to work for Lily. So here's where he's planning. I can understand it. That requires a great deal of creative thought, I would imagine. FSB. Now, so what so we'll use my little mod for a minute. So I'll turn my trigger markers on, right? For those that hadn't seen it already, yes, my little trigger marker mod's turning them on. And so then we go into here. Now, I think I've got it loaded. The production is... No, it's a production, isn't it? And I'm pretty sure I call it the Fart Juice Factory. Just for... Yeah, there we go. Fart Juice Store. Oh, and I've not got it working properly. You can see from the icon kind of what I'm going for, but there'll be a... The idea is it'll sit in here. I haven't done the shop item properly, and it'll have a script that varies the recipe according to the number of cows you've got in the cow shed. And so therefore more cows create more fart juice, and then it'll use acid as its input material. I'm not going to have it consume slurry, it just but it'll sit here and it'll produce liquid fertilizer. So that's the plan. You'll get everyone excited, FSB. And Mark, if you've got any clever ideas on what I can do to get the darn manure pit on here working, they would be welcome, because it's doing my head in. I've tried everything I can think of. I just can't get something to connect. I look at it just, even though it's positioned, I've tried taking it out, I've put it in again. I can't get it connected to the cow shed. There's straw in the shed, but because when you open the models, if I look at the trigger, right, There's plenty of triggers around here. That's the end of the cow. Which one's which? That's this one here is actually the manure pit. So I don't know what's happening. And I don't know what system function. So I'm presuming that when you install a manure pit, that it runs some sort of system call to finish the connected 2-bit. Yes, it should spawn right here. But it's not. And all the XML entries look right. That 2000 is in the pallets that are in that locked storeroom down by the grain mill. So no, it's not showing up on here. And that's because it sort of looks like it's not connected. But as I said, I don't know what to call to run to force it to recognize the cowshed. It's not on the floor in the barn. When you actually look at that's why I know that that's the trigger. So if I open the I can't think of an easy way to do it in the stream. It's the one that comes with the map. I tried using an extension. I can't get anything to connect to it. That's not impossible because he's done some really funky things with nav meshes, which is how he gets the cows to wander out here. Oops. But yeah, we might, it's getting late for me now, but we might next week have a bit of a look at the wonders that he's done in GE and the like, because as I said, when you open this cow barn in GE, there is no cow. It's a blank scene graph. There's nothing in it. And you can highlight the reference point or the point of origin, which is somewhere over here. And if I look, then if I open or I load in the manure pit, it uses the same reference point, and that's how I know I was able to work backwards and figure out, because I did some experimenting. I moved that trigger up and down to try and figure out if the problem was just that the trigger was below ground or something, but I couldn't figure it out. So as I said, it has stumped me for the moment, but I'm not super worried about it. And to do what I want to do with the Lely sphere, I don't need the manure particularly, so it's just a realism thing. It's not piling up over there. Right, so let's take this crop up and deliver it. And for next week's episode, hopefully I will have my fart juice store at least able to be visualized, I'm pretty confident the script to do what I want it to do to trigger off the number of cows will take some time. Oh, the models are sensational. I understand why he's gone to the lengths he has to protect them. it just has the downside of making it irritating, if there's any area where you want to change something, it's not quite as straightforward. But, just like little puddles dotted around the place, and even the grasses, it works. It's really nice. You see what I mean about the bridges with those approaches and exits just angled out so you don't catch equipment on them? Just how many times have you seen on other lesser maps, you just turn the corner to make the bridge and it's a square entrance, like people with 90-degree opening gates. Where's the road? It's up here. He's even turned off the collisions on power poles that are in awkward spots so that you don't get caught on those. Ain't that the truth? Well, I also have a working theory, which will be the subject of if I get my learning on textures sorted out. But I think a contributing factor to why the AI performs so poorly is because the AI weights in textures are used so inconsistently as to cause the AI model to do dumb things. If I'm understanding correctly what they're there for, it should be possible to ring a field, 90% with a oops, let's get over the trigger. Rig a field 90% with a texture. That'll encourage the AI driver to leave the field at the point you want them to leave without it being visible to the player necessarily. So I want to do some testing and some experiments with that and see if we can get to the bottom of how I think it might be intended to work. Now let's turn my trigger off. Ta-da! I love that function. Can you tell I'm really pleased with myself, with Mark for helping. Right, that was enough to finish the contract, so that was a good guess-ish, a little bit informed. So now we can finish the contract. Oops, I've been running on half time. That wasn't intended. So only 8 o'clock in the morning on July 2nd. We will be advancing into August the next time we visit this map. I'm not planning to make you all sit through days on end. in my mind, I'm sort of messing with do we run the clock fast enough that we get through 2 game days in a stream or just 1? Yeah, see, all that stuff makes a really big difference. Farms in Briscoe. And the better all-around job you as a map maker are able to do putting that out, the more likely that players, whoa, I missed him, will play the map the way you've built it rather than get on and want to delete everything. And I'm pretty sure that's what MA7 was going for here. You know, it's like, well, I'm not feeling like major surgery is required in his main yard. You can see that the AI actually stopped for the most part before the intersections. So even that, I can leave the traffic on, and whilst it's not perfect, it's done something better than on most maps. Simply because the AI spline for this road finishes here, not here. In town, they actually stop short of the corner, or they slow down. So, you know, just stuff like that all helps. So bottom line, if you like French maps and you haven't given this one a go, have a look at it. Give it a try firsthand. He's also got lots of decor textures, road patches and all sorts of things dotted around the place, which give it a bit of a lived in sort of feel. There are collisions on that hedge there, so you will get stuck if you cut the corner. Yes. Oh, there's one spot where it's over here somewhere. Because if I come out of the end of the laneway and I'm not paying a lot of attention, I swing out and there's a car in front, there must be a detection point, and the car will actually stop. The car ahead of me will stop short of the intersection, and I've run into or over the car with the fully loaded tractor 3 or 4 times now. It's one of those situations where it's like, oh, wish I'd had the camera on for that. That would have been a blooper reel. The combine doesn't fit into the easily into the area that drop grain into our silo, but we can. And I do have an auto drive course into here that works pretty well. Actually going through it backwards. Rightio. Yeah, there you go. No, I'm not sure. I'm certainly not suggesting it needs to be made to everyone's taste, and that's why I quite like Josh, whose screen name I can't remember, Map Maker's Challenge, or Map Maker's Intended Challenge, which You know, I like a map to be broadly able to be played the way the map maker designed it to be played. Now, if that means that there are different farms that are set up in different ways, then that's great, because then there's lots of different ways it can be played. And I think gaming joy, that's what I was looking for. And that's where I think the Oaks and a 4X format in general really suits that, because you've got enough space to be able to deal with a lot of different ways of doing it. And my idea for the second generation of the Putneys is I think there will be enough farms on the Oaks for us to explore that storyline when we get the opportunity somewhere down the track. So it'll be cool. We might kill him there. I don't think we're far away from being able to harvest this field, so that will hopefully, we'll have a bit of mustard to pull in next time. But I think at this point I might bid you all farewell for the evening. Thank you very much for popping in and saying hi, and thank you for those that had the time to be with us all the way through. You got a bit of a sense of what's on my mind and where I'm hoping to take this series and the other ones. I'm thinking we might try and push this one forward in the 2 streams next week rather than pushing Newlands along a bit for the minute. I might play the Newlands a bit in the background and see where that gets to, but that's my plan. And I really appreciate all the support and the kind words. Hey, Farmer Ed, great to have you here. Hope you haven't failed anyone today. Oh, we're going to finish that contract. Let's do that. Let's collect the money. At least we did something. Don't forget to grab Mark Haythornwaite's Dessert Factory. Even if you have no intention of using it, the downloads are all worth something to him. You can, oh, there you go. There's the you can see the objects that are that texture, and you can see the bit that I added on that we were talking about. So I put part of it underneath in order to get a foundation to build the mill on. So but what I was going to do before we did that was go to, for those that didn't see it, that's the sell point that goes with the Dessert Factory, and we've installed one of those outside the supermarket in the car park up in the village. And then at the top of the map we've put in the Dessert Factory itself, which looks like, whoops, this, which we will get to be able to purchase in due course. So until then, thanks everyone for watching. Really appreciate having you in, and I'll be back Monday night Australian Eastern Standard Time, 7:30 next week. I'm aiming to do 2 streams a week. I'll just have to see how I go. Monday be the one I'll definitely commit to, and then Thursdays as I can. So we'll just see how we go from there. Stay safe everyone, and have a good weekend. Thanks for watching. See ya.